Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Amplified and Intensified, the #1 cybersecurity podcast with your host, Eric Taylor, myself, Shiva Maharaj, and today we have Gerald Auger. I hope I did not butcher that.
It's Gerald Auger, but I'll respond to Auger. Yeah, no problem.
I apologize. We have Gerald Auger with us. What's going on, man?
Nothing, just living the dream,
Gotcha. So who is Gerald Auger?
Good question. Passionate about cybersecurity, so I do it for a profession. I do it for a hobby. Classically trained in computer science, but found my love for cybersecurity early, like maybe 15, 17 years ago, and I've been practicing that. And I don't flex that I understand how to be a pen tester. I've done labs and trained and stuff like that, but I came up for C track. I have had to do blue and get good at that just because of manpower constraints. And now, I run a YouTube channel that gives back to the community and helps mentor at scale in cybersecurity workforce development. And just happy to talk about cybersecurity.
What's the name of your channel?
Yeah, it's SimplyCyber. So you can find it. Actually, simplycyber.io is my website, but I have a YouTube channel called SimplyCyber. And I'm like all over LinkedIn as myself, Gerald Auger. So
okay.
Very cool. Very cool. So is SimplyCyber your primary focus? Like, is that your day job, or is it you do cybersecurity aspects of things during a day and SimplyCyber is your hobby, weekend, nighttime type stuff?
Yeah, I would call SimplyCyber my hobby. It's grown into something much bigger than just kind of like a tinkering project.
Mm-hmm.
So my 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it, I'm an information security officer. I've kind of came up the ranks in a more classical fashion, like I said, with a computer science education, and then working in the IT side of the house, and then I moved over and slowly worked up from, risk analyst 1, if you want, all the way up to an information security officer. And I, basically am accountable and have built a cybersecurity program for a mid-size, meaning $750 million manufacturing company that's, a worldwide company. And I enjoy those challenges. But the cool thing is, because cybersecurity is my life and something that I'm truly passionate about, I'm able to really fold together the things that I do on SimplyCyber with my day job. And I'll give you a great example. Every morning for the last, year and a half, 2 years, I listen to a threat briefing, a cybersecurity threat briefing every morning with my coffee. It's like how I start my day. And maybe like a month ago, 2 months ago, I figured, I've got a lot of experience. I know how to understand what these stories are saying, extract out important, call to action, whether it's educating your end user community or how to speak to IT about a certain issue, or even an opportunity to leverage a case study with executives that'll resonate with them so you can get money for your program. And instead of me just doing that for myself, I said, you know what, how about I turn on the camera? So now every morning at 8 a.m., I go live with very little preparation. I haven't even read the stories or listened to the brief. And I pull it up and I go through it with the SimplyCyber audience, which is like 80 people at this point, which is pretty good. And, I play a story, I pause it, I give my reflections, and chat goes, crazy. They talk to each other and share news. It's a tight 30 minutes, and it's for SimplyCyber, but I'm doing it effectively at work. But the way I see it, that is work related because it's empowering me and enabling me to be able to be a better practitioner at my job that day. So there's a lot of, synergy, for lack of a corporate buzzword.
Gotcha.
Anything good in the news this morning that you covered?
Yeah, there's a couple things, there's major tensions in Ukraine. So I'm not sure when you're going to listen to this, but right now, Russia just defaced and took down several of Ukraine's major government online presences, including the foreign ministry, and left essentially a terror note on the page saying, so if you went to it, it would say this is just the beginning, expect it to get worse, written in Russian for the Ukrainians. There was that. And then, interestingly enough too, yesterday, the EU is actually started today a 6-week long simulated multi-country cybersecurity war simulation to attack supply chain exclusively, which I found wild that they hadn't promoted that out. But at the same time, you make yourself a pretty vulnerable target if you tell everybody that you're going to be doing this, international simulation. Like if I was a threat adversary, that's exactly when I would attack you, because you'd be like, oh, this is just dummy data. It's just a simulation.
Yeah, all the Ukraine sites that were actually hacked by Russia was all running the same CMS from last I heard about, or last I read about 30 minutes ago. So, yeah, it was
hacked by Russia.
The interesting thing about the timing of the defacing of Ukrainian websites is the fact that Russia arrested members of REvil.
Yeah, I saw that
this morning or last night, or
last night, and then reported this morning. Yeah, the 17 of them, I believe, got arrested.
Yeah,
the number is very fluid, because I originally heard 11, then it went to 14, then 16, then 13. Just like anything news related, it's all flexible.
I still think it's interesting timing, because the easiest thing for them says, hey, why would we do that to Ukraine when we were busy taking down REvil, who caused so much havoc in the United States over the summer? So what do you think are the biggest problems that you see in cybersecurity these days with your experience in the real world?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a really multifaceted question. So
the top 2 or 3 that keep you up at night and make you not want to shut your laptop off.
Oh, okay. From that perspective, like threat adversaries, I thought you were talking about the challenges of getting budget, workforce development.
That's always going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, obviously ransomware goes without saying as really one of the top threats, which is good because it's front page news. It's common language and lexicon now, so the executives know that. So when you're asking for money, you can say it's for ransomware protection, and you can get that funds. The problem is that ransomware is such a, it's such a lucrative opportunity, especially for people who are in financial crisis, and there's very little retribution or punishment, right, for executing on it, that it's going to continue to go. So, we have protection technologies. I feel, unfortunately, like a lot of organizations focus heavily on business continuity and recovery from ransomware attack, and pay a little less mind to the upstream of like having it not happen in the first place. So that keeps me awake in some capacities. Obviously, another thing in the threat can change, right? But another thing that is really something that I've put a lot of effort into to make myself feel better, think about mitigating my risk down, is end users doing end user things, right? So, if Carl works in accounting, like he's worried about Excel and numbers and keeping the books right, and like that's his job, his focus. He's not focused on, best cyber hygiene practices and these type of things. So that's, the social engineering aspect of having someone accidentally click and download something or fall for a IT support scam and stuff like that. That keeps me up, because essentially, as like anyone can send anyone an email, and if you have poor controls around email security, it can get to someone who can fall for it. So just again, as we talk about that particular risk, I have actually taken a really I would call innovative, novel approach to information security awareness at my organization and my last organization as well, that I think has a material improvement on overall cyber hygiene for the end user community and the effectiveness of them not falling for stuff and making bad decisions.
So, if I can interject you real quick before we go down that rabbit hole, that when you're going back to ransomware, me and Shiva have had this conversation a lot of times, and don't you think just because you're saying it's because of ransomware, everybody is or they're numb to the word of ransomware, they're numb to that threat because it's so in their face. Not to get political, but you say the word COVID, you either you get people that are over energized about it, or people that want you to tell you to shut the F up. And, it's kind of the same thing when you talk about ransomware, I think. So how do you think that really plays out when you're trying to structure and, get people more secure?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the key differences there is with COVID, it's more of an individually affecting situation, and ransomware, it's more of an organizational affecting situation. So you can feel more like it's an us than a me type thing. As far as ransomware goes, it's all about money. right? Like if it isn't happening to you, then it's not really in your face. But when you see something like Colonial Pipeline, or more importantly, something that's in your same sector, so like let's say healthcare, you see a clinic, it doesn't have to be down the street, but you see a clinic or a physician's practice get ransomware and they have to close the doors. That perks up, especially when the news stories are being placed into the journals that you read, right? So it's like it's on Newsweek. It's not in IT Security Magazine, which you're not going to be reading anyways. So it resonates with them. And I'll tell you something that I have seen firsthand in the last 12 months that is absolutely driving this as a top initiative, oddly, is cybersecurity insurance, right? So, businesses use insurance to cover, like liability. And what we're finding is that they are getting, like, let's say $1 million coverage, and ransomware coverage was just getting thrown, or cybersecurity insurance coverage was just getting thrown in there originally just for privacy data breach and handling that. But now it's moved into ransomware, and the premiums are going up because the insurance companies are paying out their mouth. And what has happened is it comes up for time for renewal. And let's say that you could get a $2 million policy for $10,000 last year, 2 years ago. And it comes up for renewal, and it's literally 8x, right? So now the line item is, $250,000 for cyber insurance for $1 million coverage. So more premium, lower policy. The CFOs are saying, why, wait, like what? Like, we need the insurance, right? Because that's our solution to ransomware. We need that. But why is it 8x? And the insurance companies are saying, because you don't have MFA, you have poor patching, you don't have privileged access management, all these things. And here's the really messed up thing. They'll say, okay, like if you put these things in place, you can have the same rate that we gave you last time. Otherwise, it's going to be 8x. And now the insurance companies are effectively driving the cybersecurity program. And one of the challenging conversations is actually having the CFO say to, whatever, the CIO, hey, put in PAM, MFA, and network segmentation because the policies due February 1st. So just knock that out in the next 2 weeks, which we as practitioners are well aware that that's an insanely ridiculous ask, like completely unrealistic.
Yeah, the one thing that, has always drove me a little nuts, especially when coming in on an IR, they're like, well, if our backups would have just worked, none of this would have been a problem. Like, you realize that a lot, while some of it is backup related, it will mitigate your downtime, but most of the threat actors are doing data exfiltration. They're going to sell your data. And for most companies, it's not a big deal. Your auto body shop down the road probably doesn't care, right? That their client list gets leaked out. But, a lot of manufacturing doesn't want their client list leaked out. So, I think by insurance companies really starting to enforce more of a granular auditing, if you will, to at least some degree, it's getting the businesses owners out of just if we just have really damn good backups, we'll be okay.
The problem I see there is that the insurance companies are creating a environment for self-attestation, for you to say that, yes, we have all this in place, and they're hoping you lie. So when you have an incident, they come in and they ask for proof of it, they can deny your claim. Yeah. That's the flip side to all of this.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to happen. I know, I talk to other, information security officers for, whatever, information sharing, and a lot of them and myself are being asked for these things, and we're testing truly. But I agree with you, Shiva, that there's definitely going to be people who don't want to, upset the CFO or whatever, and are going to lie. And you're right. Like we're going to be hearing about situations. Well, you would hope that we'd hear about situations where those insurance companies aren't going to pay out for that exact reason, because you basically invalidated your policy.
I think that's going to be this year, next year. I think that's where we're going to get the high watermark of that.
I'm already seeing it on the IR because, we'll go through the entire, and this has just started happening within the last 2 months. We'll go through an entire incident response case, and we are specifically told, do not give us your final report. Do not send it to us, because it's considered discoverable.
Yeah. They want you to read the report to them, or discuss the report with them, but they do not want
exactly
a paper trail on it.
Well, and another interesting thing, Eric, I'd be interested on your experience and perspective on this. Another thing that we're seeing is that the insurance company is dictating the incident response company or incident response team that is authorized to execute on behalf of any incident that's going to result in trying to, access your policy for financial compensation. So, like if you're in a pinch and they call Eric because you helped them last time, and then you start doing executing IR, you invalidate the policy just by them trying to do the right thing.
So that is a little bit of a gray area. So anytime we get a new case that comes to us, either directly or through referral, one of the first questions I ask is, do you have an insurance policy or cybersecurity policy? And I review it. A lot of the policies will allow a company like ours to at least get started. We're allowed to go in and do a containment and start an assessment. Is there still data exfiltration going on? Doing at least the containment and at least brokering the communication with the hackers is allowed by most, if not all. I wouldn't say all, but most cybersecurity policies, especially if it's on a weekend, things of that nature. Some policies have panels, so only approved companies are allowed to work on certain cases. And again, some of them are allowing the customer to use a third-party firm, because they have their own internal or external. And I'll tell you what, if I could not line up enough customers right now that will tell you to never use an insurance's IR firm. They are literally the worst. That they don't care because they're paid by the insurance company and they're hired.
They're often owned by the insurance company.
Exactly.
That's the other slippery slope for that.
Yeah, so they don't care if it takes them 2 months, whatever. They don't have the customer's interest at heart. So where a company like us or Avaca or Kroll or Coveware or something like that, we work for the company, right? So
interesting.
It's a mess. I mean, I've got one case right now where I've been fired and hired 3 times.
What was the last one?
Hired.
There you go. That's a win for now.
For now, until the insurance company comes back again and be like, no, we can do this. And yeah, but it's a freaking mess. It really is.
So what else is driving you to make change in your org and also as part of SimplyCyber to help educate people? Because I think when I looked at SimplyCyber, it really looked like that's what your goal is, to help educate people.
Yeah, I mean, SimplyCyber began initially as me. Okay, so originally SimplyCyber started because I'm sure, like you guys, as practitioners that have been around for a minute, our community is now at this point in 2022, like it's more of an inclusive community. Toxicity isn't really tolerated. And I get asked a lot of questions because cybersecurity.
Sorry.
You apparently have not been on Twitter.
Well, I do kind of, yeah. So I know all about that on Twitter. I try to stay clear of that. Like I spend a lot more time in Discords, security Discords, which are better policed. But yeah, Twitter's kind of a cesspool. But so. But like you guys, I get asked questions a lot, the same questions, right? Because our field is hot, our field is front and center, and I get asked questions a lot, like, hey, how do I do this, or what would you recommend about that, or what do you say about this? So I don't want to say that I got tired of saying the same answer again and again, but I saw it as an opportunity to mentor at scale, and really, honestly, I don't have a ton of free time, so my time is valuable. So if I can make it more accessible for other people in a way, I can. So I started making these videos that are answering the FAQs, for lack of a better term, that I get. So then when someone messages me, I say, hey, I'd love to help you. Check out this video. It'll answer 80% of all the questions that you have. And then if you still have questions, come back to me and we'll talk. And most of the time, people won't come back. So I'm assuming either they weren't serious about it, which is great because I didn't spend my time helping someone who wasn't serious. Or 2, it answered their question and they've moved on to other things. Sometimes they'll come back and they'll ask a follow-up question, a deeper question, something that's more actionable, and it shows me that they're committed. And then I'll work with them. And then, so that's kind of where it began. But then now at this point, there is a SimplyCyber Discord server, which is really a SimplyCyber community home, if you will. And there's a lot of people who are regulars in that community and help each other and know each other's stories. And yeah, we're still mentoring as far as like, this is how you do that, or check out this lab or whatever. But it's evolved into something much greater, which is not what I had anticipated with SimplyCyber. So now at this point, I feel almost like a responsibility to continue providing and leading, for lack of a better term, this community into greatness and achieving good things. So that's really what's happened with SimplyCyber.
That's pretty cool. There's one of my mentors, John Strand, who does a former SANS instructor who does Black Hills information. Yeah. But he's always saying, you can literally take the same topic, line up 30 people to educate on that, do it a different way, and reach thousands of people. So it's awesome, man. So yeah, cool. I'm a huge advocate of that. So, I'm trying to work with actually SANS to, do more educational stuff like that. So it's going to be a good year, I think.
Yeah. And John was just on my show. So I do live streams on Thursday where I have a guest on and we talk about something specific. John was actually on last Thursday to talk about his pay what you can model, right? Because he's got 3 courses where it covers different things in the industry that are awesome. And his whole underlying philosophy is like people who have different backgrounds, right? Single mother of 3, Native American, someone who's a 50-year-old, like not like there shouldn't be gates for people. It shouldn't just be like white males who had a college education that have access to opportunity. And that's really what he's doing with his pay what you can thing, which is why I had him on, because it's just such a great program.
Yeah, the pay that what you can is actually, and I'm not sitting here trying to toot my own horn, but I actually contributed to that a couple of times last year, where paid for, because I think the full course is like just under $500 or something like that. So I helped sponsor at least 4 or 5 people last year. So hopefully that worked out well for some folks. But yeah, being able to give back like that is pretty cool. And John's an awesome dude.
Yeah, he's a role model.
Yep.
So what else are you working on as the next iteration for you, I guess, you and SimplyCyber?
Yeah, thanks for asking me that. I've got a bunch of projects going on, but one that I'm really excited about, and I want to share with you is I'm working on, so in addition to working as an information security officer and doing SimplyCyber, I'm also an adjunct faculty at the Citadel Military College, and I teach in their cyber sciences department. So I've been doing that for 2.5, 3 years now. So I've kind of gotten not a flair, but I've developed kind of educational kind of skill set or delivering education. And I get asked all the time, where can I get GRC training, right? Because we, just to back up a second, if you don't know and you're listening to this, the red side has had great training and very pointed training and overall training for years. The blue side just got some stuff the last year and a half, SaaS solutions with cyber ranges and stuff like that. But when people ask me, and GRC is getting some serious love now, and people ask me, where do I get GRC training? And literally, I've been saying for 6 months, well, you can go to NIST and download the special publication and read through it. That's the best I can offer you right now. And that is fine, but NIST documentation is cumbersome and it's very thorough. And it's more of a reference than it is a guide. So if you're not even equipped to digest NIST, it's really confusing. So it dawned on me maybe a month ago that there's no GRC training that I'm aware of that's worth anything. So I came up the GRC track, as I mentioned at the beginning. I could easily make a course. So on Black Friday, I bought a teachable license, 50% off or something, and I'm working on a GRC course. And what is so exciting about it, at least in my opinion, right, to geek out a bit, is GRC is really seen as the non-technical arm of information security and kind of boring and clipboard and audit and all this other stuff. So how can I make it not just educational and smart, but how can I make it practical as well? And my favorite part is have resume bullets. So the way I've broken it up is, here's a primer on cybersecurity. I have to do that in case you're coming from nowhere. And then here's a module on compliance in audit. Here's a module on security awareness. Here's a module on governance. And within it, I teach a bunch of theoretical stuff, right? These are different compliance frameworks. This is why compliance happens. All these things that you need to know from an education perspective. But then I have a lab, let's do an audit. Like, we're going to audit a section of PCI, and this is what the standard is, and this is how you do an audit, and this is who you're going to interview and stuff like that. And it's all simulated. It's not like you're actually auditing anyone, but you work through the lab. And if you do the lab, like at the end of each module, I have resume bullets that you've unlocked. So by the end of the entire course, you could have a pretty beefy practical skills resume developed and really understand what the hell you're talking about, frankly, in a GRC risk analyst role. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm about 60% completed, and I'm really excited about. In what way? Like hours or modules?
In hours, I guess, or both.
It's probably, it's not that long, like maybe 15 hours. Like, I'm not trying to make it overwhelming. I think it's six modules. I try to keep, when I say modules, like security awareness is a module. Like, I have one at the end on how to get a job too. So you can take your resume that you just got and, here's how you find the job. Here's how you interview correctly. And, I'm saying maybe 15 hours. I haven't really measured it, but I try to make the sections within each module like 15 minutes or less, because I've found people don't really want to sit down for an hour lecture, right? They want a consumable bite and then have a nice time to stop, and then kind of like binge watching on Netflix. Like, you're like, oh, I could do a little bit more. I could do a little bit more. So instead of like, a 2-hour video. So I'd say, yeah, maybe 15 hours. It's kind of hard to say, because with the labs, like, it depends on how long it's going to take someone to execute on the lab and do all that, right? So,
okay, cool.
I'll tell you what, if those guys, they would hate to sit through a SANS class. Holy moly. 6 days, 8 to 10 hours a day, and you're just melted. Brain is just oozing out your ears. You're just like,
Yeah, I mean, there is a point of diminishing returns, right? Where you're just not even consuming anything anymore. And for me, I actually thought long and hard about this, and I did some research, and it's not about length, right? It's not about amount of time that you put into it that determines the value of it. To me, the value is there a transformation for the student from when they came in to when they exit the program? And I feel like I'm delivering on that, just in a concise fashion.
Yeah, that just retained knowledge from what you got, right? So I think that's the key words there is, how much are you retaining?
Yeah.
When are you planning on launching?
I was, it's funny. I was planning on doing it February 1st, and I was going to have beta testers here in like basically starting tomorrow, have like 5 or 6 beta testers go through, give me feedback and make edits. But I've got some personal stuff going on right now that's kind of pushed that, unfortunately. So I would say end of Q1. I definitely would like to get it out, even if it's in like some type of draft format. I want to get it published, because that's going to basically hold myself accountable, because people are going to start messaging me and say like, this is an incomplete course and stuff. And I don't like that. Another thing, just to touch on it, because we talked about John, I've been trying to figure out how to price this course. And after John was on
millions.
Yeah. After John was like, originally I was thinking like $79. That's kind of like the sweet spot. And then I was thinking, I love what Keith Adams is doing. It's Cyber Mentor.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so nice. It's basically like $30 a course, and it's wicked accessible, and he runs 50% off coupons all the time. And I liked that. But after watching John, I think I might price it $79 like I was going to, and then make it a pay what you can, and have coupon codes that say, I only pay 0, I only pay 10, I only pay 20. And I mean, he's already proven it as a viable model that people, you probably get some people who could afford it and then pay 0, but most people are paying what they think is fair value for it. He's even said that people did it for free, and then they came back and bought it, almost like after they were done with the course, they paid what they thought it was worth in value. So, I'm motivated and inspired about making it accessible to people who may not have access to it because they're 15 and they're in a broken home and they don't have $80.
Well, Heath also has a monthly plan as well. And, I'm just subscribed to that just to help him out, because, between him and Stoke and a couple other folks that are on, Twitter and the Bug Bounty program, some of their stuff that they did, helped advance my penetration testing by, watching and following them and meeting with them and stuff like that. So, that may be something that you do is, a monthly plan. I don't know how well that's going to really work with a one course thing, but I don't know. But something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. It is a good point. I would probably not, because I'm not really in like the course curriculum development world. Like this was basically a gap that I heard the community like basically like not begging to have filled, but like there's a need there, and I have the capability to fill that need. So I was just making it. I'm not interested in like good on Heath. Like the Cyber Mentor Academy is awesome, but that's not really where I want to go or take my career.
I like your idea of this $79-$80 price point. Pay what you can, because at that point you're more of a pay it forward type of
Exactly.
arrangement, which I think is what you're looking for, aside from helping people learn.
Yeah, and I mean money's nice, but like I have a great full-time job, and like CimplyCyber makes a little bit of scratch. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm okay. Like I can offer this for $0 if that's what they can afford, and I'm okay,
No, good on you, man. I wish
Yeah,
there were
man.
more people like that who could put together quality coursework and say, hey, it's a pay what you can thing, because all too often, I think in our field, in many other fields, there's so many people selling courses, probably should not be putting courses together.
Or be near a computer.
I'm trying to be politically nice, correct, or whatever you want to call it today. It's 2022. I'm trying to be nice here. But, listen, when you launch it, let me know. I'll buy
absolutely.
it. Or maybe I'll sponsor. You know what, listeners? I will sponsor 5 listeners of this podcast. You get in touch with me, and I will buy Gerald's course for you.
Well, let's sweeten the pot. Shiva will do 5. I'll do 5. Let's put 10 people through.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
man.
I mean, I think it's a service to the community. So that's pretty much it for me for questions. Is there anything else you wanted to go over, Gerald?
Yeah, let me think. Well, I guess just to kind of promote something and share with, because I really find that there's value in it. I mentioned earlier about doing this, morning daily cybersecurity threat briefing. I do it weekdays, and I'm teaching at university right now. School just started back into session. So Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I teach at 8 a.m. So like it's a little bit later in the day, but normally it's at 8 a.m. And I really think people should check it out. Not because it's like pumping my numbers or I have an ego or anything like that, but whether or not you're trying to break into the field or you're a practitioner, there's value there. Because I will tell you, and you guys, let me know your thoughts on this. When you're in an interview for a cybersecurity job, you will be guaranteed to ask, how do you stay current on cybersecurity? It's so important.
Not Reddit. Reddit is not the correct answer.
Yes, Reddit's not the correct answer. I mean, Twitter, we hear Twitter.
It could go either way for Twitter, but definitely not Reddit.
Yeah, but if you are attending this this morning threat briefing, you are getting up to date threat intel. And personally, I feel that I can boil it down and like call out what is actually going on or what's valid in the story, or like you don't get confused in the noise, right? It's just a distilled message of here's what you need to know. For me, people are finding value in it. On understanding what's going on. So it's helping them develop professionally and get that career. And then if you're a practitioner, I mean, you really should be staying informed on what's going on. So what better way to do it than with a bunch of other cybersecurity practitioners? So the cool thing is it's not just me talking and you sitting there listening. There's like 70 or 80 people in chat all talking about the story at the same time. Like, oh, like I heard about this, or this is affecting healthcare, or that this isn't true in Europe right now, or like it's very involved and very dynamic, but very accessible and very inclusive. There's no toxicity in chat, right? Like it's awesome. I really like it's a coincidence that I happen to be the one running it. Like if I was just an attendee in it, I'd be telling you the same thing to check it out.
And just to recap here, it's 8 o'clock weekday mornings.
Yeah, 8 a.m. Yeah, if you go to the SimplyCyber YouTube channel, you'll see it under like upcoming live streams, because like basically on Saturday I schedule out the next 5 for the upcoming week, and then I execute on it and rinse and repeat. Or just connect with me on. Well, the cool thing is I stream it live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch all simultaneously. Not that I'm like trying to get Twitch or Facebook people, but it's just another click of the button, so I do it anyways. But LinkedIn, a lot of people tune in from LinkedIn because, it's first thing in the morning, you're having coffee and it's like, oh, Jerry's live with this thing. So either one, just connect with me if you can't find it.
Sounds good. And we will have all of the links on how to get in touch in the description for the episode.
Great. Thank you for having me, guys.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen and ghouls that are out there on the internet, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for tuning in for yet another episode of amplifiedandintensified.com. You know what? A recent change to the platform. Shiva has put together a new website, amplifiedandintensified.com. If you have heard anything that you have liked about this podcast and you want to engage Shiva or myself, or be able to help sponsor by donating us some coffee, all the links of our calendars, buying us coffee, past episodes of both the podcast and the YouTube version are all now on amplifiedandintensified.com. Go there for all of your needs. Thank you so much. And until next time, take care.